Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I'm Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're jumping into Zombie Army VR on all VR platforms, and I'll let you guys know if this game was worth the wait. I'll of course have a full overview of what the game offers up, some side-by-side platform comparisons, I'll show off plenty of gameplay, and of course let you know if it delivered, fell short, or exceeded my expectations. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead. Okay, so first up, I wanted to say that this is a bit more of a first impressions video rather than a full review, because as of making this, I'm only about 5 hours into the game because I'm traveling for AWE. So I've just been in this game as much as possible, jumping on different platforms, playing in co-op, playing single player to get as much information as possible. But I am confident to give you a pretty basic overview of this game. Maybe there's some really cool shockers towards the end that I don't know about that might make the game better, or maybe it just gets a little bit more dull. I can't say. So let's just dive right into the basic information for anyone who is completely uninformed on this title. Zombie Army VR is a first-person, story-driven shooter that's playable in both single-player and two-person co-op, taking place in the existing Zombie Army franchise. It's available on all major VR platforms, including the PlayStation VR 2, PCVR, and the Meta Quest. And Rebellion Developments is giving this game the same type of treatment they did with their other title, Sniper Elite. You can pick the game up on June 12th for $30, and there's also a 10% pre-order discount. Now, for those of you familiar with the Zombie Army series, Zombie Army VR takes place before the fourth game, and this is after the fall of Hitler and the majority of his occultists, but for some reason, these zombies that remain are still being organized, and you're going to take on the role of a dead hunter, this elite force that knows how to battle the undead, and you have to go and discover what's going on and eliminate these creatures. Now, overall, the storyline doesn't go too deep. It's basically an excuse to kill lots and lots of zombies during World War II, but I'm 100% cool with that. Now, what's much more important, and I'm sure you guys want to hear more about, is the overall feel of this game. If you previously played Sniper Elite VR, mechanically that is the closest title, except it completely trades in stealth for over-the-top intense action. You have your basic array of World War II style weapons, that iconic X-ray kill cam when you snipe an enemy, but now there's also plenty of melee weapons that allow you to decapitate and dismember zombies. This is all about fast-paced action, and once again, if you've played the flat screen titles, you'll know what you're getting into. They want you to just keep killing enemies as fast as possible. They'll give you tons of ammo, but you're gonna burn through it. The game will have you struggling to keep your weapons loaded and to switch back and forth between different weapons, because even though your machine gun has 150 bullets, you have multiple clips, you'll go through them quick through hordes of zombies. Then you got to switch to the sniper rifle, switch to your pistol, just keep switching back, utilize grenades to take out as many enemies as possible. And the whole time the game is scoring you. So if you slow down, you lose your combo score. If you make too many shots that miss, you lose your combo score. You get bonuses for like instant kills, headshots, unique kills like blowing up 5 enemies at once. So the game, really pushes into that arcadey, fast-paced, intense action. And you might stop playing the game for the first 30 minutes and be like, this is super easy. And then they just throw hordes at you where you are scrambling and scrambling. And it's a really good feel. At the same time, though, it's a bit repetitive. You're going to get that. You're locked in an area. Zombies keep coming. You got to scramble for ammo, switch your weapons, kill them, not get cornered. It's a very good, solid mechanic, but it is quite repetitive. I'm cool with it though, because it's just fun over and over again. There's a bunch of moments that do, change up the overall tempo, but this is the majority of the game, for better or worse. I will say though, mechanically, it does feel solid. Collision detection didn't feel quite as good on the Meta Quest, especially when I was in co-op, but I was testing this game with people in the UK, so I'm sure latency was a factor. Now, that scoring system isn't there just for bragging rights, because there's also a full ranking and weapon upgrade system here. Obviously, the better you perform on each level, the higher your score, and the higher your score, the quicker you rank up, which gives you access to more upgrade kits, making your overall arsenal bigger and better. The upgrade system also helps fill in the gaps of where you excel or just suck in this game. If you're a crack shot with some dead-on aim, then you might want to just focus on increasing your overall ammo. But if you're more of a spray and pray guy, you probably want to increase your damage to make each one of those hits count. Now, it might seem like the right choice to neglect the rifles, because they are obviously much harder to utilize in close combat, but I do find them to be way more effective against the spongier or boss enemies. So ultimately, the gameplay is pretty much exactly what I was expecting. I went in just looking for some arcadey, fast-paced action with a friend, and it delivers. I'm really enjoying it. It's solid, maybe just a bit too repetitive for some people. And if you want something a little bit more serious, yeah, it's probably not the right game for you. Now, comparing it to something like Left 4 Dead, I would actually say this game is a bit more intense and offers up more. That's just my personal opinion. There's more replayability here, there's more of a storyline, and there's actually a lot more content. But before we get into that, let's just discuss the overall graphics and do some comparisons between platforms. Now, I've spent the majority of my time on the PlayStation VR 2, followed up by the Meta Quest, and unfortunately the PCVR version was the last one I got access to, so I only spent a minimal amount of time on that one. Now, across all three platforms, this is a nice looking game. It's definitely not the best we've seen in VR, but it's definitely pretty enough to deliver on the overall atmosphere and not break the game's immersion. Even on the Quest, it's a solid looking game, and the overall downgrade going from the PlayStation VR 2 to the Meta Quest didn't impact the game's overall fun level. Obviously, the textures aren't as nice, there's less lighting and post-processing effects, and unfortunately it does appear to utilize fixed foveated rendering, but it appears to be a minimal implementation on the Meta Quest 3. Now, on the PlayStation VR 2, it's obviously a much better looking game. Overall, the graphics are really nice, helping to make things like dismemberment and decapitation shine. And while it's definitely not one of the best looking VR games I've ever played, it's nowhere close to an ugly looking game. Now, I was extremely impressed with the overall fidelity on PCVR, but it's not a fair comparison because I'm rocking a 5090, making this an experience that less than 1% of the people will actually see. And finally, the last factor that we need to discuss is replayability and value. I know this is like a sticking point for a lot of VR gamers. I'm not spending $30 for 3 hours of gameplay or 5 hours of gameplay, no matter how good it is. Well, here I'll say there's a ton of value here. Like, each level is roughly 30 minutes, and there's a ton of levels. Like I said, I didn't go through all of them, but I've already spent 5 hours in this game, and I feel like I've scratched the surface of it. You can keep going back, playing on harder levels, upgrading your weapons more, ranking up more if you end up loving the game. But there's a lot of content. The only thing I'll say, the majority of it is fairly repetitive, but what game isn't repetitive? You're going and doing the same thing as long as the gameplay loop is there. If this style of game resonates with you, if you like the arcadey, go blow up tons of enemies with your friend type of game, the value is definitely there. You could easily spend 20, 30, 40 hours in this game. Just keep playing it. It's solid. So I don't have any complaints in the value department either. It's pretty much exactly what I expected. If you've tried the flat screen games, you know what you're getting into. This is a solid version of it. Lots of fun. Great to bring a buddy along, but I'm actually enjoying it in single player too. I played more time in single player than in co-op. It's solid, guys. I'm enjoying the game. Maybe not the next game of the year, not a 10 out of 10, but a very solid game, a very solid zombie shooter. If you like the genre, get into it. I'm recommending it, guys. And that was today's video. If you have any additional questions, let me know down in the comments. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.